We're all very envious of people with super fast supercars. But the trouble is, if you've got one, it's so conspicuous you can't drive it quickly. And if you see one parked up at a racetrack, it's more likely to be owned by the team sponsor rather than the driver. Except when the team sponsor is also its driver. Lamborghini Racing made its debut last year and the series visited Brands Hatch in September. Each car is part-driven at least by an amateur. It's one-make racing for the super rich that was originated 5 years ago with a series for Venturi's. And Philippe Chariol was easily hooked.
One day, a friend of mine came to me and said, I don't have enough money to buy a car. Do you want to chip in? I was in good mood. I said, yes. I give him a check. Then he said, okay, you have to come and drive with me because you're half order. And I started. I was Venturi. And the next year, I started right away to sponsor the race. And 3 years after, I'm here with the Lamborghini, the Philippe Chariol Supersport Trophy, sponsoring the whole race.
The entry is split into two categories, as series promoter Stéphane Rattel explained.
You did one pro and one amateur together in the car, or semi-professional, which are these gentlemen drivers which are spending every weekend on the track. And that made two categories, gentlemen drivers and pro-am, and it's going quite well.
But expensive cars can create expensive repair bills.
In the first races, we have been quite mean to each other. And it did cost me, I cost that in Clio, you know, the French car. Cost about 50,000 pounds or 5,000 pounds, yeah. So every time I had an accident, I call, oh, one Clio, two Clio. So we had a few Clio to pay in the beginning, but today it's okay. I think people are taking care of their cars and be more respectful, yeah.
26 cars were brought to Brands by the promoters, who prepare all of them as part of a £35,000 a year package deal. Fortunately, they also brought a spare so I could join in the fun. The 540 horsepower supercar is quite a handful, but that V12 right behind you simply sounds glorious. My practice effort secured me a slot on the outside of row 4, with the front row filled by French Grand Prix refugees Jean-Marc Gounon and Olivier Griard. The race would last 50 minutes from a rolling start. I opted for the outside line at Paddock and up to Druids, already challenging for 4th spot. I had a look down the inside and outside at Hawthorns and got blocked. So I took a deep breath and went down the outside into Westfield and made it through to 4th. Out front, Gounon led with Griard glued to his tail as the two series regulars fought to give their amateur partners the lead at the changeover. I briefly challenged for 3rd, but then fell back into the clutches of the leading gentleman driver, Ferdinand de Lesseps, who was about to prove he was no gentleman. OK then, you have the track and I'll have the grass. 4th had quickly become 6th. Just over half distance and the driver changes a due. Gounon tries to sell Griard a dummy, but only gets himself in a tangle. I've also been classified as a professional, so I'm in to hand over to amateur Ferrari 355 racer Ian Khan. And I'm not complaining, because 30 minutes of heavy Lambo steering have left my arms hanging off. Over to you, Ian.
That's quite hard work, actually. It's quite heavy. I was really enjoying a really good start, got the 4th, but then some amateur gentleman used a very professional foul trick on me after I had made a sore mistake, and he got up the inside of me and just left me with no room to go. I think the man whose great-great-great-grandfather digs canals was trying to get me to dig a trench on the outside of the corner in order to survive. After that, I made another couple of mistakes. It's hectic stuff. Come on, Ian.
Out on the track, Ian was passing everything he could, never sure if he was making up places or simply lapping the slower gentleman. My mate de Lesseps had stayed on board for the compulsory 1-minute stop, and now he was taking second place off Gounon's amateur Jean-Louis Laribière. But there was no way he was going to catch Grillard's partner, Thomas Becher, who by now was heading for a comfortable victory. For a man who also owns and races a McLaren F1 supercar and was the '95 Global GT champion, it was almost business as usual. Ian brought our car home a respectable 7th, and while he'd been out on the track, I'd been doing a bit of background research.
We got 7th in the end.
Oh, that's not so bad then.
And I've just found out, did you find that hard work?
It was hard work actually.
All the other cars
I've got power steering.
have got power steering.
I might have known.
This is the spare car.
Yeah. It's a setup job, isn't it?
Well, I was certainly good fun, but whether it's actually a gentleman's formula, I'm not so sure after the way I was treated.